Hey, I'm Elyse. Today on Architects of the Underground, I'm joined by the multifaceted Carolina Perez of Castrator, Hypoxia, and Untoward. Many of you know her as a drummer, but she also plays guitars, keys, sings, teaches, does session work, and has even drum teched. We're going to dig into the realities of underground musician life, balancing work, school, passion, and the pressure to keep it all going. Batman's here to assist me. Let's get into it.
Of course, it has some sort of insight into, what a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, they think like tour is a vacation.
Yeah,
And it's like,
it's
bro,
a lot of work. Yeah.
it is so much work.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you're doing this. I definitely have a lot to say about that. And I do, unfortunately, I have seen a lot of people make excuses for bad behaviors because the problem in the industry, one of the biggest problems is that people that get to actually go on tour are so grateful that they don't even complain, even if they're being abused, even if they're not being fed. They just make excuses for horrible behavior, and I've seen it, and it's sad.
It is. Actually, that's probably a good place to start. So, thank you for coming on. Thank you for being here,
Yeah, thank you for
Carolina.
having me, Elyse.
Um, when we first met, Castrator was getting ready to release The Filed in Oblivion. And it seemed to me like, I know I was just meeting you, but it was like a big turning point for you musically and like professionally. What choices did you make around that time that really helped push your career forward?
Definitely making it a priority to, tour and not let anything get in the way, like quit my job, like being able to work with people that are difficult. Like, you just have to make choices that are rough, and the music industry is rough. And you work so hard towards a goal, like putting your music out that you want everyone to hear it, and you understand that touring is almost the only way to, make your band name respectable. Very few bands have gotten away with it without touring. So, it's almost like understood that if you want to make it, you got to tour. And if you want to tour, you sometimes have to do it without even getting paid. Like it's a huge risk. You kind of like risk even going, like being homeless, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's like, no, there's not really a lot of other industries that I think that like that's the trade-off, right? Like where you're like, um,
I feel like maybe like I've seen it in like people that want to do like MMA or like Muay Thai that like will risk everything to just be in a fight and like move to Thailand and stuff like that. I've seen it like maybe with that, but I mean I wouldn't know.
yeah, and I guess like I mean if you're becoming an entrepreneur or like opening a business or something, you risk a lot, but it's I mean touring like with you like your first Castrator's first tour, um, was that the one like where you guys were packed in a car or was that
So we
the
did the two tours on Defile, well, three tours on Defile in Oblivion, but the first one was called Defile in the Midwest, which was pretty much just like DIY. We rented an SUV and we talked to a few venues around, like, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Chicago. It was like six venues. Well, the we were gonna play Full Terror Assault,
Mhm.
and we wanted to play it, but it wasn't enough like to just play the one show for us to make it liable. So like we just had to plan other shows around it to make it even, to even break even.
Right.
And so that's what we did. We rented a small car because there was no way renting a van was a possibility. We used the backline from other bands that we're playing with that were generous enough to let us use like drums and cabinets and stuff like that. And then the last show was Full Terror Assault, which was a good experience. We learned a lot from that. And
Yeah,
usually what I've
festivals.
seen, yeah, what I've seen in the industry is like the small venue owners are the best, the nicest, and the most generous.
Yeah.
Yeah, like dude, like we played in Chicago. Liars Club, and this is a small venue, and they're so generous. They didn't know what to do to make us feel welcome, you know. And then you go to play a big venue, and you know, it's just like the opposite. Not always, but
Yeah. Festivals, it seems like, I mean, I've only played a couple, so I'm not like speaking as like a seasoned
yeah,
festival player, but depending on like the size of the place, it can be like really chaotic too, the organization of it. One of the ones we just did, Fortress Fest, was amazing. Like pulling in, everybody was super organized, knew where you had to go, be, and
yeah.
um,
Usually festivals are pretty organized, but you know, there's so many bands that you're just not, you know, you're just in and out. Like, you know, you have to follow the timelines and you play your set and then you're out. It's not as intimate. It's not, you know,
yeah, yeah,
you
definitely.
barely ever even meet the organizers or, you know,
Yeah, and then like you did the tour with like cattle decapitation and immolation was on that one
yeah,
too.
and the bug.
Yeah, and we saw well the Cleveland show didn't have either of
No, no, because it was a
but
day off.
yeah,
So we just decided to do our own at the grog shop with
yeah,
the, yeah.
that was a good show
Oh,
though.
yeah, because what I think Atomic Witch played it? No.
Yes, yep,
Yeah, yeah, Atomic Witch played it. You know, it felt kind of like a local show. It was great, great vibes.
yeah.
It was a good show.
And what do
Those
you
are things you
what do
have
you
to make.
prefer?
I like both, but like I was just gonna say, like a little side note, like those are the things you have to make happen. Like when you go on tour and you have days off, you almost cannot afford to have a day off. So you have to make like if you can like work with other bands. So for me, what I've learned being in the industry is it's all about networking, communicating, working with other people and getting along with other bands. Like you can't be a hater, you know, don't be an asshole. And we were fortunate enough to work with amazing people like Immolation and you know, they agreed to do this show and but yeah, like we did the same thing in Texas. Cattle, we had a day off. So Immolation sang with Sigabog and I was in Houston, one off, and it was like one of the best shows of the whole packet of the whole
Oh,
tour.
that's awesome.
Same, yeah. Yeah, but you gotta make things like that happen. I like both ways. They're both very different experiences, you know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like we take it for granted. And yeah, there's a lot of room for improvement, especially when it comes to speaking up. Like sometimes bands are okay with like playing for free. You know, it's just like, come on, like there's no way.
yeah. Well, and I see it like a venue's perspective too. Like if the pre like well this there's this whole thing with pre-sales now, and I think like since the pandemic, it's harder to get people to buy tickets in advance if they're pretty confident that it's not going to show sell out or something because we've all been in the position where something comes up and here now you're just out however much money because you bought tickets and now you're sick and you can't go or something happens. So like but it's nice like when everything turns out, but it also sucks. I could see like where that would be hard for independent venues, especially. You can't, it's hard enough to break even on a show, let alone like with some of the guarantees.
Well, I've also seen a lot of bands being extremely egotistical and thinking that the venues have to do all the work. You have to put you know, you have to promote, you have to let people know it's like it's a team effort. It can't be one the venue only. You gotta tell all your people to come out, you know, you gotta promote, promote, promote,
Yes.
promote.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do think like, do you see this too? Like some bands, it seems like it's almost beneath them to
Mhm,
like
all the time. Yeah. All the
set up
time.
these.
It's you know, it's you're working with like a venue owner that's tr believing in you and you know putting you on a show. You got to put the work in. You know, it's a compromise. You can't just like expect people to show up if you don't promote.
Right.
Yeah, it's like that's kind of like a bad behavior that's very common. It's a
Yeah,
trend.
and I think it's one thing if like a show doesn't do great, but everybody put the effort in. Because
Yeah.
on the flip side, I'm sure you've been like on the
Yeah.
road and there's venues that don't give a shit. They're
Yeah.
like, you're working a door deal or whatever. It's like 100% on you. And by the way, we're going to take all these costs out. And it's like, and they don't even so much as put a flyer up for the gig. And
Yeah.
they're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, we brought people out,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
So
I've seen both ways for sure. It's got to be a compromise. It's got to be both, you know.
now you've had phases too where you've been like just a full-time musician
Yeah.
and not working. And then you have phases where you're balancing a job. And are you still doing session work or drumming
Yeah.
sessions?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Like,
whatever comes my way. Like, if somebody contacts me and it sounds interesting, I'll go. I don't care if it's whatever kind of music because it's always a new experience, you know. Well, I
right,
did reject one session gig because the guy just wanted me to literally play to what he programmed. And I was like, what's the point on that? Like, I want to put in my own flavor. I want to put in my own, like, just leave it as is. If you want it to sound like a machine, what do you need me for? You know?
right.
I didn't take that because I was not interested in something like that.
Well, you're creative. And
Yeah.
like, how do you how do you personally find time to balance? Like,
Very hard. You have to be very disciplined. You have to prioritize. Sometimes want to just watch a show, but I don't. Especially when I was writing Coronation of the Grotesque, the new Castrator album, I wrote most of the guitars and it was a lot of work because I'm not I like just dove right in and like, I needed to learn how to use a better DAW because I needed to program drums and like everything to be able to like set up all the foundations for the songs and it was a lot of work. So I come home from work, just take 1 hour break and then just work all night. And I was also doing like full-time school. I almost went crazy this winter but so much, you have to definitely learn how to balance your life. But nobody's gonna do it for you, so you gotta just embrace it. And a lot of times I got frustrated and was crying and what am I doing? And I don't want to, I don't want to go to work. I hate my job.
yeah, no, like it can feel like it's like I want to use my creative brain for
Yeah.
this and this only. And then when you're at work and you said school, which is also for
Oh,
every like hour you're in class, you have 2, 3 hours of homework outside of it. That is intense.
yeah, it was very intense, and I work a full-time job too. I went to school full-time. And I wrote an album. And, I definitely a planner. It's very important. You have
Yeah.
to set up your week. Every Sunday I would set up my week and 2 hour block for castrator. I make sure I follow through like or whatever. I definitely like let's see. Let me see if I can show you like yeah, like like set up
Yeah.
little yeah, just being organized is very important.
Yeah. I have a calendar too. I
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
Like I have to chunk out my days, but then I also learned like I have to give myself transition time because there'd be days where I just tried to stack everything up and then I'm like
Yeah.
crying because I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I don't
you get
have time.
overwhelmed. It's overwhelming. Forget it. But
Yeah.
you gotta do it. You
Because
gotta do it.
it's you essentially have to treat it like it's another job. Like,
Yeah.
and that's, do you
Oh,
find that that
totally.
can hinder your creativity at time or can it feel forced or how do you work through blocks?
Um, yeah, but usually like if I feel blocked, I would just like step away and just start doing something else, but I will definitely make it a point to come back to it. Just take a little break, you know? Like there's like a technique called the Pomodoro technique where you go full on like 20 minutes and then you take like a 5 minute break. I think it's 20 minutes. And that really works. Like you just have to take breaks. You can't just like expect to like work like a machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that technique called? I don't know.
Pomodoro, like the tomato Pomodoro technique.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
but 20 minutes on, 5 minutes off. And
Yeah. Or 30 minutes on, 10 minutes off. Like you just have to take like a short block where you go full on and then a 5 minute break and then come back. Whatever it is, you go for a walk, you just listen to one song, you just give your brain one break. Yeah.
I'm
And
like,
I found it super helpful, especially when I was trying to do like statistics, like
yeah.
crazy
Actually,
with that.
that was one of my favorite classes
Yeah,
in
but it's
college.
hard, you know?
It is.
I got an
It
A.
is.
I mean, I'm proud of myself, but it definitely almost drove me crazy.
Yeah, that was a class I really I don't that's like one of the few times numbers make sense to me.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like I can do this.
Yeah.
What do you think is something the average person like misunderstands about especially being like the underground extreme music community, like when it comes to like being a musician, writing or touring, whichever, or both.
I think the average person doesn't understand that it is a huge sacrifice to even make, to being able to like release even a demo, like it's a lot of work. People think it's like a walk in the park. It is not, even for, I mean, for you to not have to pay out of pocket to record an album, it takes a lot of work. Like, most bands still pay out of pocket. I mean, it's just like the labels are not willing to invest in you until they see that you actually put in your dues and you put in, all your tribulations and sacrifices. This is not only fair, but not always fair, but it is the case. So the average person doesn't understand that it is a huge sacrifice.
Financial and otherwise
Oh,
for
it's
the
a huge
band.
financial strain. Like, I mean, like I've played in a lot of albums with Hypoxia. We've released 3 albums, and all those albums have been paid out of pocket. Even though we have a label, they usually pay you back with like a percentage of the CDs that you have to sell. Dude, I have so
Right.
much merch. I need to sell more this merch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if you don't go on tour, how are you gonna sell it? And we're
And it's
not.
hard. It's hard to get people like online orders. You'll get, and it seems like those come in waves. Like when something happens, you drop a release, something, people will
Yeah.
sign up,
In the
buy
beginning,
your,
you always sell. Yeah, like when you first release it, yeah, it's a good, like, little bubble of time, but that's not the reality. So, like, you get, I don't know, 200 CDs and you sell 20 in the beginning, and then you're stuck with the
yeah,
rest.
100
Yeah,
some
yeah.
CDs.
So,
And
and
like,
that's another thing that, like, it's huge now. I mean, like, the music industry is ever evolving. Like, social with social media. And, like you said, recently the pandemic, and like, there's always changes, and you gotta adapt, you know.
yeah. Well, and it seems like you said, social media, this has become like now I think for artists, it's like almost you're in this position where not only do you have to create art, create this, now there's this whole
Oh my
like
God,
you
you have to be a, what do you call it? Like a social media
social
person?
media
Yeah,
manager, like and it takes it's not like you can just I slack on my own stuff and I kind of know what I'm doing at times. And it's
it's
just like
exhausting. It's
it
exhausting.
is. And I think it's hard to promote yourself and your art. Like
Yeah.
as much as you want to do it. And then like you said, like the labels don't invest like they used to. I mean, back in the day, if you were a band, you had talent. And I think I will say, like when they had to invest like that, you did see, but maybe that's why you saw so many bands that were just forced on the road and they like lived on the road for
Yeah.
sometimes a year straight
Yeah.
because
But
that's what's
also
so
back,
important.
like, before social media, there was definitely a very different networking strategy. Like bands stuck together. There was clusters of bands in every town that worked together to play shows, to promote, like to like give out flyers, to like, like 3 or 4 bands would always hang out together, and that doesn't exist anymore. There's a lot of hate, there's a lot of jealousy, like it's
Yeah,
terrible.
it
It's
is. And there's like one too, like back then there was like the tape trading days. And I even still remember like I was on the tail end of tapes, but more so CDs, and bands would burn their CDs and bring them to shows like, hey, listen to my band. Like I still have like collection, like
Yeah, and
I
that was
did lose my
awesome.
CD collection, but
Yeah,
I
because
still have them.
you're bonding with people over like what you love. I mean, it still happens. Obviously, it's not all bad, but I've seen a lot of backstabbing and jealousy, which that should not be ever the case. We're all struggling, we're all working hard. We should help each other out,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because it's like everybody has the same goal. I do you think that that has to do with like that scarcity? Like there's only so many spots and there's like
Yeah,
so
like it's a
many bands.
competition. Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
a competition. Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe, but we only get ahead by helping each other. Like I'm a huge believer in like, like giving a hand, and I've been given a hand so many times where I want to help too, but that mentality is kind of like fading
There's
away.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
A lot
sad.
of a lot of yeah, you
Big
said it,
big
jealous.
egos. Yeah, it's backstabbing. Yeah.
what do you
sad.
do like when we don't have to talk about anyone specific, but like when you find yourself in those situations where people were just really shitty, do you forgive and forget, or do you just note it and try to,
I don't forgive and forget. If someone's shitty to me, I will cut ties. I will completely cut ties. I've been called ruthless many times because I just don't accept that kind of behavior. If you're shitty, I don't want you in my life.
yeah.
You know?
And I do you think like there's a difference between like someone being human, making mistakes, owning something they did, like, hey, I was shitty, I lost my
Or,
temper, or whatever the case.
oh,
And
dude, I've dealt with all, the huge like egos, screaming matches and all that. But at the end of the day, you understand if it's the moment. The moment gets the best of you, but this person didn't have bad intentions. But if it's somebody that is like on purpose, just like being shitty to you and trying to take advantage or you know, gaslight you or that kind of behavior is not a
yeah, yeah, no space for it. I'm done. Sometimes like I find myself like, and I don't know if you've experienced it too, just like where you give chances and you try to like like, you know, put up with more than you should have, longer than you should have,
of course.
kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
do you think age helps you like better sift that out now? Like this person was just
100%. When you're younger, you're just naive and you just keep giving people chances and hoping that they would, or you don't even see it until it's too late. You think the person's the sweetest, the nicest, and then you all of a sudden see the intentions and you're like, whoa, I've been manipulated for this long.
oh, that's a
It's
doozy.
it's a huge lesson to learn, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
So,
happened
you
to
know,
me.
in the current climate, how do you define success for yourself now? And has that definition changed over the years?
Yeah, definitely. I used to think that being successful meant to like not have to worry about a job anymore and just like, being able to live from music. I've understood that being successful means that I get to do what I love no matter what, and I'm lucky enough to like still do because I've met so many awesome people that have done this forever, and they still work their day jobs and they still make it happen. And even if one person shows up, that person is, it's good enough. It doesn't have to be hundreds. It doesn't have to be. As long as you get to do what you love and you're making it happen, you are successful.
I like that. That's
Yeah. Because a lot of people don't get to do it or they give up on their dreams and they're miserable. I see it all the time. It's just like, oh, it didn't happen for me because I didn't go on tour. That's not what it's all about.
about creating.
Yeah, it's about doing what you love and having an outlet and being able to do what you love. Even though touring is a whole different experience and it's not for everybody. It's rough. People think touring is it's
With a
fancy.
vacation, you get to see all these things. It's like, bro, it's
It's
not in
rough.
walking
You
distance of
don't
the venue.
sleep, you barely eat. You have to give 100% of your energy every night, even if you're sick, even if you don't feel like it. A lot of people actually leave the music industry because they experience touring.
Yeah. And before we run out of time, why don't you tell us about you just released something with Untoward. Did I say that right?
Untoward, yeah,
Yeah.
untoward,
Whatever.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, we just did a demo. So, during the pandemic, we wanted to jam, and like we were like shut in and I was like, oh, I want to play guitar and I started playing like Sepultura covers and stuff and then I was like, oh, let's just write music. But we wanted to approach it from like a drummer's point of view where like all the like riffs are more rhythmic or like weird time signatures and stuff.
Yeah.
We started jamming and we like fell in love with it and I fell in love with it. Like
I did
that's
too. That was awesome live.
Thank
It was a great
you so
show.
much for having us play the
Of
first show
course.
ever.
Of course. I love the like Kent vibe and just the we
Yeah,
gotta
me
do it
too.
again.
That was, yes, for sure. Please, yeah. We're super stoked. We love that band. It's just very different for us, because we've all played death metal, also like to just have a different outlet.
It was cool to hear Steve too. Like back there drumming, and that was a
Actually,
really good show. And then the new castrator's coming out, so
yes,
you guys just released a single, and it sounds badass, but I expected
thank you.
nothing less.
Thank you.
So tell us
Yeah.
about that. And do you have any touring coming up?
We have a few submissions. We for sure December. We have some good announcements for December, so we'll see if anything before that. But for now, we're just stoked to have the album finally out because there's a lot of delays because of the whole like tariff thing and yeah, like from the label. It was supposed to
Wow.
come out June and now it's August 15th. But it's okay. I mean, it is what it is and we're like I said, we're lucky enough to have a label and have a team that wants to work with us and yeah, hopefully we get to tour. But for now we just released that single, then there's another single coming out in July and then a big show announcement and yeah. Yeah.
Yay. And that's going to be out on Dark Descent, right? Dark Descent Records.
Records, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's a good label. They're good to
Yeah,
us. Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. And I look forward to like releasing it, and I appreciate your time. I look forward to hearing everything that comes out, and I'll be sure to put links to the releases on at the caption.
Thank you.